If you sit, what that does, that flattens out the disc, puts pressure on the nervous system, and with the sedentary lifestyle that our office workers have, or truck drivers, that pinches the nerves to the colon, and that also causes further colon damage. So let's say you have a society that doesn't drink enough water, has processed foods with lack of fiber, and they have sedentary lifestyles. What's that going to do to the blood supply and nerve supply to the colon? Will it make it healthy and strong or weak? Weak. Excellent. Good. So when the food goes down through the colon, it's supposed to go to the down. It puts pressure on the side wall, and it starts to outpouch the colon. Okay, and that's called a diverticulum. Now, diverticulum is one outpouch of the colon. Now, if this gets inflamed, we call it itis. Itis means inflammation. So diverticulitis means those outpouchings are inflamed. Now, what's wild is it only happens under a lot of different conditions. First, you got to have less fiber. You got to have pinched nerves. You got to have dehydration. So this is self-induced. You can't catch this stuff. Okay. Also, will this also cause irritable bowel syndrome? Yeah, that's the bowel. It's irritated. Okay. Since we don't know what causes it, we can call it a syndrome. Okay. Does that make sense? So here on the back sheet, I put irritable bowel syndrome stuff you're going to do. Okay. And it's amazing because I don't put medications on here. The system's designed to rebuild itself. And in fact, you can go in. You got to see this. You can go in, cut a hunk of the colon out, sew the two ends together. 24 hours later, go in with a colonoscopy. You can't see the joint. The lining rebuilds itself that fast. I know what you could say. Wow! God did a good job again. I thought he just nailed it on the stomach. No, he did the whole thing good. Okay, so then you look at this. Now, there's a couple of things you could do with this. I think, increase in fiber, restoring it, since it's a fast repairing organ, that would be a good idea. Changing your lifestyle. Stopping poisons would be a good one. Here's the medical approach. Liquid diet and a round of antibiotics. Now, inside of the colon, that's the medical approach to diverticulitis. Itis means inflammation. So some people will think that it's infected. And what is the common drug that they give for everything if it's infected? Antibiotics. Yeah, absolutely. Now, antibiotics, in order to be prescribed, they need to do a culture, and then they need to grow it, and then they need to because you can't do a culture in the colon because there's every bacteria in the world down there. You're talking about 500 trillion bacteria inside of the colon. So you can't do a culture there because everything's going to grow. Okay, so that doesn't make any sense. So what you're going to do, if you're not understanding anatomy and physiology, you're going to go in with a colonoscopy, see this inflammation, and say, oh, what the heck, here's a drug because it must be inflamed, it must be infected. Now, what that does, that wipes out the normal flora. And you got bacteria in here that not only do they keep you alive, they break down food products, they protect you, and they're vital to your immune system. But now, since this is a tube filled with tons of bacteria, what about we put, since we're designing the body, what if we put lymph tissue in there? Okay, lymph tissue is part of the immune system. I know, we'll call it the appendix. I know, isn't this great? So we put an appendix down here at the cecum, the bottom part, the start of the colon. Now this continually produces lymph tissue, so it produces all the immune system materials that you need. Now if that inflames, guess what? It means it's working. Okay. Your sinus is inflamed, it means they're working. So now you got an inflamed appendix, it means it's working. So how many, in Europe, they have 1/10 of the appendix removals that we have. Why? Because they know it's inflamed. Wow, it must be working. In this country, if it's inflamed, it's a very cheap operation. You can rip it out. And of course, the person does have a 60% increased risk of colon cancer. But, hey, I know. I've heard the craziest stuff. Okay, I know, it's crazy. Okay, so a round of antibiotics and surgery if the condition becomes chronic. Of course it becomes chronic because do you ever get advice of eliminating packaged products, eat healthy, normal food, make sure it's organic, replenish the normal stuff, and drink more water? Is that typical advice? No, I'm talking crazy. Okay, now, in the old days, they would say, don't take seeds, don't take popcorn, because it'll get stuck in these little outpouchings. Okay, in the old days. Okay, this is of last year. Yeah. Well, this was actually 2 years ago, a year and a half ago. Now, and they decided, because, just like when we talked about if they had an ulcer, they prescribed drinking milk, no studies, no tests or anything else, just stupid stuff. Well, they said small seeds could get caught in those buckets. But this food restriction was based on theory. Nobody had tested it. Oh, no! Okay, so they go in and they test 47,000 people. And they see, to find out, what's your diet like? Okay, do you have a lot of incidence of this or not? They found out that, by gosh, if you ate this stuff, that they had less incidence of diverticulitis, diverticulosis, and colon problems. Oh my gosh. So does that mean put normal healthy plant fibers in here with normal healthy things that gets a normal healthy colon? It sure does. I love the editor. The recommendation to avoid these foods to prevent diverticular complications should be reconsidered. Should be reconsidered. Oh, really? Okay. Anybody watch The Simpsons?
Yeah.
This is how you say "don't" in medical speak. Okay. Now, obviously, this is the weird thing. There's a new bowel disease that's also affecting kids. Now, the tough part, it's affecting kids with ADD, ADHD, and autism. Now, if you've known the person that's associating vaccines with neurologic damage and those diseases, his name's Dr. Andrew Wakefield. He's the new up-and-coming Galileo. He really is. Now, we know Galileo is a brilliant man, right?
Yeah.
Okay, if we were in Galileo's time, he was a heretic. He's absolute scum. He should be burned at the stake, and the church is letting him off good by just kicking him out of heaven forever. We're going to excommunicate him. Because he came up with this crazy idea that the earth revolves around the sun. Damn! That's just crazy! Okay? So this is the new person that's being crucified for coming up with actual science that's saying injecting foreign animal and viral proteins in the bloodstream, which is completely abnormal. You're supposed to be exposed through a measles virus through the nose or mouth. That this is getting in the bloodstream and negatively affecting the gut and causing severe abdominal problems. But do we have a new vaccine for it? Yes, it's called the rotavirus. So this one causes problems, the other one may fix it. Okay. So obviously no vaccines. Particularly that, but if you know Dr. Andrew Wakefield, his work, it's brilliant. Now, anything you put, okay, this is why we're talking about the causes of this. It's synthetic products, it's stuff your body cannot digest and doesn't recognize. It's chemicals such as medications. Anything you put in that stomach goes into the duodenum, which is right here. Now this beautiful, like fish-like organ that's stuck in the duodenum like that is called the pancreas. Now the pancreas secretes enzymes, it secretes hormones, it's endocrine and exocrine gland. It's amazing. But it drains in the same spot of the intestinal tract as the liver. Now the spleen also involved in this. Now to understand how digestion works, you gotta look at this. Now what the spleen does, and again, I mean, sure, this all happened by random chance, just from bacteria crawling from pond scum.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, the spleen checks every red blood cell every 20 minutes. 6 million red blood cells. It checks them. By checking them, it looks at the size and shapes and sees if they're viable to hold oxygen. The ones, because red blood cells only last about 120 days. The ones it doesn't like, it sends over to the liver. The liver processes these so the proteins aren't getting utilized or aren't lost, and it makes bile from that production. Now the bile is brilliant because it goes in and breaks down and emulsifies fats. So you've got this beautiful system up here. So if anybody, and what the gallbladder does, is it stores and concentrates bile. So now you've got sensors in the nose that tell the stomach to produce the acid. You've got sensors in the intestinal tract that sense fats. As soon as the fats hits there, the gallbladder contracts. Wow, what a beautiful system. I mean, NASA couldn't do a better job. So if you had the gallbladder taken out, are you going to have a problem with the digestive fats? Yes or yes?
Yes.
Yeah, but again, it's a cheap operation. If you got insurance, we ran a hospital, we could take them out a lot. And granted, we have about 50 times the amount of gallbladder operations